The old alien sat in the center of the Galactic Council chamber. His gray skin was wrinkled with age, and his 4 eyes held a deep sadness that never seemed to leave. His name was Melu, and he was a historian of the Oran species. Around him sat 12 young diplomats from different worlds. They had asked him about humans. They wanted to know why every species in the galaxy feared them. Melu took a long breath. "You want to know about humans," he said slowly. "Then I must tell you about the Velnar. You have never heard of them. Nobody speaks their name anymore. But 200 years ago, they were one of the most powerful empires in the galaxy. They had 1,000 worlds. They had fleets that could darken the stars. And now they are gone, completely gone, because they made one terrible mistake. They angered the humans." The young diplomats leaned forward. Melu closed his eyes and began his story. In the year 2844, humanity was known as the peaceful species. They had not fought a war in 400 years. They built hospitals on poor worlds. They shared their technology freely. They believed in talking, not fighting. The Galactic Council called them soft. Some species laughed at them behind their backs. Humans were seen as weak, gentle creatures who had forgotten how to be dangerous. The Velnar Empire watched humanity with greedy eyes. The Velnar were conquerors. They took what they wanted and destroyed anyone who said no. Their leader, Overlord Draxus, looked at 3 human colony worlds near his border. These worlds were rich with resources, and the humans who lived there seemed like easy targets. Draxus sent a message to Admiral Do-Yun Park, the commander of Earth's defense fleet. The message was simple. "Give us your 3 colony worlds, or we will take them. We will be merciful if you surrender quickly." Admiral Do-Hyun was a tall man with gray hair and calm eyes. He had never fought in a real war. No living human had. But something in his blood remembered. Something old and patient. He sent back a polite refusal. He suggested they talk and find a peaceful solution. The Velnar laughed. They saw his politeness as fear. Overlord Draxus ordered his fleet commander, a brutal warrior named Torek, to teach the humans a lesson. Make them understand that the Velnar do not ask twice. Commander Torek chose his target carefully. New Busan was a farming colony. It had no military bases. It had no weapons. It was home to 2.3 million humans, mostly families. Farmers, children, old people living peaceful lives under an orange sun. Torek brought 50 warships. He did not ask for surrender. He did not give warnings. He simply began killing. His ships burned the cities from orbit. His soldiers landed and hunted the survivors through the fields. And he made sure to broadcast everything on every channel in the galaxy. He wanted the humans to see. He wanted them to feel helpless. He wanted the whole galaxy to watch humans cry and beg and die. Captain Yuna Kang was on patrol duty 3-star systems away when the broadcast reached her ship. She was a small woman with short black hair and steady hands. She was known for her calm nature and her soft smile. Her crew loved her because she treated them like family. Yuna stood frozen in front of the screen. She watched the Velnar ships burn New Busan's capital city. She watched soldiers drag people from their homes. She watched them kill without mercy, without reason. Her parents lived on New Busan. Her younger brother Taemin lived there with his wife. And her daughter, little Somin, who was only 7 years old, was staying with her grandparents while Yuna completed her patrol. Yuna watched them all die. She saw her family's neighborhood burn. She heard the screams, and something inside her went very quiet, very still, very cold. Her second-in-command, Lieutenant Jiho Shin, stood beside her. He was crying. Many of the crew were crying, but Yuna's eyes were dry. Her face showed nothing. "Captain," Jiho whispered, "what do we do?" Yuna did not answer. She just kept watching until the broadcast ended. On Earth, Admiral Do-hyun received the news in his office. His assistant was sobbing. The whole planet was watching. The whole galaxy was watching. Everyone expected humans to fall apart, to beg for peace, to accept whatever terms the Velnar offered. Do-hyun watched the full recording without moving. His face remained calm. His breathing stayed steady. When it finished, he sat in silence for exactly 4 minutes. His assistant later said those were the longest 4 minutes of her life. Then Do-hyun stood up. He walked to his window and looked out at the blue sky of Earth. Somewhere up there, beyond that sky, the Velnar were celebrating. They were laughing at human weakness. They were dividing up human worlds like prizes. Do-hyun pressed a button on his desk. A voice answered immediately. "Sir?" "Wake the War Council," Do-hyun said. His voice was soft, almost gentle. "Wake all of them, everyone who carries the old codes, everyone who remembers. Tell them the vaults are opening." There was silence on the other end, then a shaky breath. "Sir, the vaults have been sealed for 400 years. "I know," Do-hyun said. "Tell them we are done being peaceful. Tell them the humans are going to war, real war, the kind our ancestors fought, the kind we promised never to fight again." He ended the call and returned to the window. His reflection stared back at him, an old man with tired eyes, an old man who had spent his whole life believing in peace. "They killed our children," he whispered to himself. "They killed our children and laughed." He closed his eyes. "They will not laugh for long." Across the galaxy, historian Melu paused in his story. The young diplomats were pale. They had never heard such things about humans. "That was the day," Melu said quietly, "that the galaxy learned an important truth. Humans are not peaceful because they cannot fight. Humans are peaceful because they choose to be. And when you take that choice away from them, when you hurt what they love, they become something else. Something the Velnar never expected. Something terrible." He looked at each young diplomat in turn. The Velnar thought they were starting a small war. They were wrong. They were starting their own extinction. The galaxy waited for humanity to respond. Every species expected crying. They expected begging. They expected humans to send diplomats with offers of surrender. The Velnar prepared their demands. They wanted 10 colony worlds now, not 3. They wanted humans to pay tribute every year. They wanted to humiliate the soft species that dared to refuse them. But something strange happened. The humans went silent. For 30 standard days, no human ship moved. No human station sent messages. No human diplomat appeared at the Galactic Council. It was as if the entire species had simply stopped. The Velnar celebrated. They told everyone that humans were paralyzed by fear. They were too scared to even speak. Overlord Draxus laughed in his throne room. "They are like small animals," he told his generals. "They freeze when they see a predator. Soon they will come crawling to us, begging for mercy." But historian Melu knew something was wrong. He was young then, just a junior observer at the Galactic Council. He watched the human embassy closely. The lights were still on. People moved inside. They were not frozen. They were working. "Something is happening," he told his superior. "The humans are planning something." His superior laughed at him. "Planning what? They have no army. They have no weapons. They forgot how to fight centuries ago." Melu was not so sure. Deep beneath Earth's Pacific Ocean, in vaults that had been sealed for 400 years, lights flickered on for the first time. Admiral Do-hyun walked through corridors that no living human had ever seen. The walls were lined with weapons from humanity's dark past, guns that could level cities, bombs that could crack planets, ships designed only for killing. Beside him walked Dr. Hana Choi, the chief xenobiologist of Earth. She was a quiet woman with gentle eyes and nervous hands. She had spent her life studying alien life to understand it, to help it. Now, she was being asked to find ways to destroy it. "These weapons," she whispered, looking around. "I read about them in history books. I thought they were destroyed." "They were sealed," Do-Hyun said. "Our ancestors hoped we would never need them again. They were wrong." Hana stopped in front of a glass case. Inside was a small device, no bigger than her hand. The label read, "Genesis Protocol, Planet Class." "Is that what I think it is?" she asked. "A weapon that can kill every living thing on a planet," Do-Hyun said calmly. "We have 47 of them." Hana felt sick, but she also thought of the broadcast. She thought of the children on New Busan. She thought of the Velnar soldiers laughing as they killed families. "What do you need from me?" she asked. "The Velnar have a weakness," Do-Hyun said. "Every species does. Find it. Give us a weapon that kills only them. I want to be precise. I want them to know that we could destroy everything, but we choose to destroy only them." Hana nodded slowly. "I will find it." Meanwhile, Lieutenant Jiho Shin worked without sleep in the intelligence center. His team mapped every Velnar world, every fleet, every supply line, every military base. They found spies in the Velnar Empire, other species who hated their conquerors. Information flowed like water. "They have 847 warships," Jiho reported to Captain Yuna. "We have locations on all of them. Their homeworld has a population of 12 billion, 83 colony worlds with varying populations. Their economy depends on slave labor from conquered species." Yuna listened without expression. Since the massacre, she had not smiled. She had not cried. She simply worked, planned, prepared. "Their weakness?" she asked. "Arrogance," Jiho said. "They don't believe anyone can challenge them. Their home system has minimal defenses. They never thought anyone would dare attack it." "Then that is where we will end this," Yuna said. "But not first. First, we take everything else. We make them watch their empire fall piece by piece. We make them feel what we felt." The United Earth Parliament met in emergency session. The building was silent. No one argued, no one debated. The representatives simply watched the massacre footage one more time. Then they voted. The vote was not for war. War was too small a word. War ended with treaties and agreements. The Parliament voted for something else. They voted for extinction. Total, complete destruction of the Velnar Empire's ability to ever threaten anyone again. The vote was unanimous. Admiral Do-Hyun addressed the Parliament after the vote. "We are not monsters," he said. "We will not become what they are. We will kill their soldiers. We will destroy their government. We will burn their military to ash, but we will try to spare their civilians, not because they deserve mercy, but because we must remain human, even now, especially now." Some voices called for total destruction. "Kill every Velnar, leave nothing behind." Do-Hyun raised his hand for silence. "If we kill their children for what their leaders did, we are no better than them. We fight to protect humanity. We do not fight to become monsters. Remember that, or we have already lost." On the 31st day of silence, the galaxy finally saw what humans had been doing. From hidden shipyards across the solar system, warships emerged. Not dozens, not hundreds. 12,000 warships, built in secret over centuries, maintained by automated systems, waiting for a day that humans hoped would never come. The ships were black. They carried no decorations, no flags, just numbers and weapons, so many weapons. Historian Melu watched the footage from his station at the Galactic Council. His hands trembled. Around him, diplomats from 100 species stared in horror. "That is impossible," someone whispered. "They said they had no military." Melu understood then. Humans had not forgotten how to make war. They had simply chosen not to. They kept their weapons hidden. They kept their ships ready. They hoped they would never need them. The Velnar had forced them to remember. Captain Yuna stood on the bridge of her new ship, the Retribution. It was 3 times larger than her old patrol vessel. It carried weapons that could glass a continent, and it was just one of 12,000. Jiho stood beside her. "Fleet is ready, Captain. Admiral Do-hyun has given the order. We move at dawn." Yuna looked at the stars through her viewport. Somewhere out there, the Velnar were finally starting to understand their mistake. She could almost feel their fear growing. "Good," she said softly. "Let them see us coming. Let them count our ships. Let them understand that there is no negotiation, no surrender, no mercy." She touched the small photograph in her pocket, Soman's smiling face. 7 years old, gone forever. "We are coming," Yuna whispered. "And we will not stop until it is finished." The human fleet moved into formation. 12,000 ships, millions of soldiers, 400 years of suppressed rage finally unleashed. The hunt was about to begin. Historian Melu paused in his story. The young diplomats around him were barely breathing. Their eyes were wide with fear and fascination. Melu's old voice grew heavy with memory. "The Oran people called what came next the month of screaming stars," he said. "I watched it happen. I will never forget." The human fleet did not attack the Velnar homeworld first. That would have been too quick, too merciful. Instead, Admiral Do-hyun ordered something far more terrifying. They would dismantle the Velnar Empire from the outside in, slowly, methodically. They would make the Velnar watch everything they built collapse around them. The first target was a small military outpost on the edge of Velnar space. 300 soldiers, a supply station, nothing important. The humans sent 50 ships when 5 would have been enough. The battle lasted 11 minutes. When it was over, nothing remained but dust. The Velnar High Command received the report with confusion. One outpost destroyed? Perhaps it was pirates, perhaps it was a mistake. They sent a patrol fleet to investigate. The patrol fleet never returned. Captain Yuna led the second wave. Her target was the Velnar Colony 7, a mining world with a military garrison of 50,000 soldiers. The Velnar commanders there laughed when they heard humans were coming. 50,000 trained warriors against soft, peaceful humans? It would be a massacre. It was a massacre, but not the kind they expected. Sergeant Minho Bayek landed on Colony 7 with 10,000 human ground troops. Minho was a large man with a scarred face and quiet eyes. He had studied every war humans had ever fought. He knew tactics that the galaxy had forgotten. Tactics from the dark times when humans killed each other by the millions. The Velnar expected honorable battle, soldiers facing soldiers in open combat. Instead, Minho's forces attacked at night. They cut power to the cities. They jammed all communications. They moved through the darkness like ghosts, killing commanders in their sleep, destroying supply depots, spreading fear and chaos. The Velnar soldiers woke up to find their leaders dead, their weapons sabotaged, their food poisoned. They could not see the enemy. They could only hear screams in the darkness as their comrades died one by one. Within 3 days, Colony 7 fell. 47,000 Velnar soldiers dead. Human losses, 212. The civilians were spared. Minho gathered them in the central square and spoke to them through a translator. "We are not here to kill you," he said. "We are here to kill everyone who participated in the massacre of New Busan. Tell your people what you saw here. Tell them what happens when you murder human children. Then pray that your leaders surrender before we reach your home world." He left them alive. Witnesses, messengers, seeds of terror. News of Colony 7 spread across the Velnar Empire like fire. For the first time, Velnar citizens felt something they had never felt before: fear. These were not the soft, peaceful humans they had been told about. These were something else. Something their ancestors might have recognized. Predators. Commander Torek, the one who led the massacre on New Busan, gathered his fleet. He was the finest naval commander in the Velnar Empire. He had never lost a battle. He swore to Overlord Draxus that he would crush the human fleet and bring their admiral back in chains. Captain Yuna was waiting for him. The Battle of the Crimson Nebula lasted 6 hours. Torek brought 300 ships. Yuna brought 800, but numbers were not what decided the battle. It was rage. Cold, patient, unforgiving rage. Yuna had studied Torek. She knew how he thought. She knew his tactics. She knew his arrogance. She used all of it against him. She let him think he was winning. She let him push forward, overextend his lines. Then she closed the trap. Human ships appeared from inside the nebula where they had been hiding. They surrounded the Velnar fleet like wolves around wounded prey. Torek fought well. His soldiers fought bravely. It did not matter. When his flagship was crippled and burning, Torek sent a message to the human fleet. "I surrender," he said. "I am a prisoner of war. You must treat me according to galactic law." Captain Yuna appeared on his screen. Her face was calm. Her eyes were empty. "You want to surrender," she said. "You want mercy." "It is the law," Torek insisted. "Even in war there are rules." Yuna pressed a button. On Torek's screen appeared the footage from New Busan. The footage he had broadcast to the galaxy. Children running, families burning, soldiers laughing as they killed. "You made the rules," Yuna said. "Now live by them." She cut the transmission. Then she fired. Torek's fleet was destroyed completely. No survivors, no prisoners, no mercy. Back on Earth, Dr. Hana Choi completed her work. She had found the Velnar weakness, a specific frequency of radiation that disrupted their cellular structure. Harmless to every other species, fatal to Velnar. She called it the Silence. Admiral Do-hyun authorized its use on 3 Velnar military worlds. The weapon was deployed by ships that never entered combat. They simply flew past the planets and activated the pulse. Within hours, every Velnar on those worlds was dead. Buildings stood untouched. Machines still worked. Other species who lived there as slaves or workers were completely unharmed. Only the Velnar died. The Galactic Council sent emergency messages to Earth. They demanded humanity stop. They called the weapon a crime against civilization. Admiral Do-hyun responded personally. "When the Velnar killed 2.3 million of our people, you said nothing. You watched and did nothing. You let them broadcast the murder of our children, and you did nothing. Now you want us to show restraint? Your objections are noted. They are rejected. Do not contact us again." Overlord Draxus finally understood the truth. The humans were not going to stop. They were not going to negotiate. They were coming to destroy everything he had built. He sent a message to Admiral Do-hyun. He offered complete reparations. He offered territory. He offered to execute the soldiers who participated in the massacre. He offered anything, everything, to stop the human advance. Do-hyun's response was one word: no. The human fleet continued its march toward the Velnar homeworld. Every military base destroyed. Every war factory burned. Every fleet crushed. The Velnar Empire was dying, and its people could only watch in horror. Historian Melu stopped his story again. A young diplomat raised a trembling hand. "Why did the humans not accept the surrender?" she asked. "Why not stop when they had won?" Melu looked at her with his ancient eyes. "Because they had not won yet," he said. Victory to humans did not mean defeating the Velnar. Victory meant making sure no species would ever think of hurting humanity again. They were not just fighting a war. They were sending a message to the entire galaxy. He gestured to the stars outside the council chamber windows. Every species out there watched what humans did to the Velnar, and every species learned the same lesson. Never give humans a reason to remember what they are capable of. The young diplomat shivered. "What happened next?" she asked. Melu's face grew sad. "The end," he said quietly. "The terrible, necessary end." Historian Melu stopped speaking. His 4 eyes stared at nothing. The young diplomats watched him struggle with memories that still caused him pain after 200 years. "I am sorry," he finally said. "Even now it is difficult to describe what came next." The human fleet surrounded the Velnar home system like a ring of black stars. 30,000 ships now, larger than when they started. Other species had joined them. Some wanted revenge for their own suffering under Velnar rule. Others simply feared what would happen if they did not choose the winning side. Admiral Do-hyun stood on the bridge of his command ship, the Judgment. Through the viewport, he could see the Velnar homeworld, a blue and green planet, not so different from Earth. 12 billion people lived there. Most of them had nothing to do with the massacre on New Busan. They were farmers and workers, parents and children, living their ordinary lives. Do-hyun felt the weight of what he was about to do. "Admiral," his communications officer said, "the Velnar are trying to evacuate. Refugee ships are launching from every continent." Do-hyun was silent for a moment. "Turn them back," he ordered. "Do not destroy them. Just turn them back." "Sir?" "I want witnesses," Do-hyun said. "I want every Velnar to see what happens next. And I want the galaxy to see too. No one hides from this. No one looks away." The refugee ships were intercepted by human vessels. They were not attacked. They were simply blocked, surrounded, forced to return to their planet. The humans wanted the Velnar trapped, watching, waiting. Overlord Draxus made a final broadcast. He appeared on every screen in the galaxy. His proud face was twisted with fear and desperation. "Species of the Galactic Council," he pleaded, "you must help us. The humans have become monsters. They are not fighting a war. They are committing genocide. You must stop them before they destroy us all. Today it is the Velnar. Tomorrow it will be you. The humans are devils. They are evil beyond measure. Please, I beg you, save my people." The broadcast ended. The galaxy held its breath. Then Admiral Do-hyun responded. His face appeared on every screen, replacing the Velnar overlord. His expression was calm, almost gentle. That made it more terrifying. "You called us soft," he said. "You called us weak. You said we had forgotten how to fight. You murdered 2 million of our people to prove your superiority. Women, children, families. You burned them and broadcast it to the galaxy for entertainment." His voice remained steady, but something dark moved behind his eyes. "Now learn what humans do to those who hurt our children. We do not conquer. We do not enslave. We do not take prisoners. We erase threats. Completely. Permanently. The Velnar Empire ends today, not because we hate you, but because you gave us no choice. You taught us that mercy is weakness. So we will show you no mercy. And when we are finished, every species in this galaxy will know one simple truth." He leaned closer to the camera. "Do not touch our families. Do not touch our homes. Do not give us a reason to become what we used to be, because we are very, very good at it." The transmission ended. Captain Yuna led the assault on the Velnar homeworld. Her ship descended through the atmosphere with hundreds of others. The Velnar defense fleet had already been destroyed. The orbital stations were burning. Nothing remained between humanity and its target. Before the final bombardment began, Yuna asked for 1 hour alone. She went to her quarters and opened her personal terminal. On the screen appeared the memorial database. 2.3 million names, every person who died on New Busan. She scrolled slowly through the names until she found them. Park Min-jae, Park Soon-ja, her parents. Kang Taemin, her brother. Park So-min, her daughter. Yuna touched So-min's name on the screen. A photograph appeared. A little girl with bright eyes and messy hair, laughing at the camera. 7 years old. She would never turn 8. "It is almost over," Yuna whispered. "I am sorry it took so long. I am sorry I was not there to protect you. But I am here now, and I will finish this. I promise." She closed the database and returned to the bridge. Her face showed nothing. "Begin the assault," she ordered. The bombardment was terrible, but precise. Dr. Hana Choi had convinced Admiral Do Hyun not to use the biological weapon on civilians. Instead, humanity used conventional weapons, targeting only military installations and government buildings. It was still devastating. Cities burned, armies were crushed. The Velnar military, once the most feared force in their region of space, ceased to exist in a single day. Sergeant Minho led ground forces to capture the remaining Velnar leadership. Overlord Draxus was found hiding in an underground bunker. He was dragged out and placed in chains. "You will pay for this," Draxus hissed at Minho. "The galaxy will never forgive what you have done." Minho looked at him without expression. "The galaxy will forgive us," he said, "because they are afraid of us. Fear creates forgiveness. You taught us that." Draxus was transported to Earth along with 200 other Velnar leaders. They were tried for war crimes by a human court. The trial lasted 3 months. Every piece of evidence was presented. Every witness was heard. It was fair, it was thorough, and it ended the only way it could. All 200 were found guilty. All 200 were executed. The Velnar Empire was dissolved. Their military was destroyed. Their government was erased. But the civilians survived. 800 million Velnar remained alive, scattered across a handful of worlds, watched by human observers who would stay for generations. Admiral Do Hyun gave one final order before returning to Earth. The remaining Velnar were not to be harmed. They were not to be enslaved. They were to live under supervision until humanity decided they were no longer a threat. "We are not them," Do Hyun told his officers. "We proved that we can destroy. Now we prove that we know when to stop. Let the civilians live. Let them remember. Let them teach their children what happens when you awaken human rage. That is their punishment, living with the memory." Captain Yuna requested leave after the war. She returned to what was left of New Busan. The planet had been declared a memorial world. No one would ever live there again. Gardens were being planted where cities once stood. Monuments listed the names of the dead. Yuna walked through the memorial for hours. She found the marker for her family, her parents, her brother, her daughter. She knelt in the grass and touched the cold stone. "It is done," she whispered. "They cannot hurt anyone else. Ever again." She waited to feel peace, relief, satisfaction, something. She felt nothing, just emptiness. Lieutenant Jiho found her there as the sun was setting. He sat beside her without speaking. They stayed like that for a long time. "Do you think it was worth it?" Yuna finally asked. "Everything we did?" Jiho considered the question carefully. "I think we did what we had to do," he said. "I think we protected our people. I think we made sure this never happens again. But was it right?" Jiho had no answer for that. Neither did Yuna, neither did anyone. Historian Melu looked at the young diplomats sitting around him. 200 years had passed since the war, but the memory still burned in his mind like a fresh wound. "You want to know what happened to the Velnar," he said. "I will tell you, but you may not like the answer." The Velnar did not die from human weapons. After the war, 800 million of them remained alive. They were defeated, humiliated, broken, but alive. Humanity did not commit genocide. They stopped when the threat was eliminated. They showed a mercy that the Velnar never deserved, but mercy was not enough to save the Velnar from themselves. In the decades after the war, the Velnar survivors lived under human supervision. They were fed. They were housed. They were allowed to govern themselves within limits. Humanity wanted to show the galaxy that they could be merciful, that they were still civilized. The Velnar could not accept it. Their entire identity was built on conquest and strength. They were warriors. They were conquerors. They were the masters of 1,000 worlds. And now they were the defeated, the watched, the pitied. Every day reminded them of what they had lost. Every moment taught them a lesson they could not bear to learn. The first generation after the war spent their lives in shame. The second generation grew up hearing stories of former glory and present humiliation. The third generation began refusing to have children. Why bring new life into a species that had lost its purpose? The Velnar population dropped from 800 million to 500 million, then 300 million, then 100 million. Humans tried to help. They offered counseling, support, cultural programs. The Velnar rejected everything. "We do not want your help," a Velnar leader told a human ambassador. "We want to be what we were, and we can never be that again. You did not just defeat our military. You defeated our soul." 50 years after the war, the Velnar population was below 10 million. 70 years after, it was below 1 million. They simply stopped living, stopped hoping, stopped existing. The last Velnar died alone in a small house on what used to be their homeworld. He was ancient by their standards. He had lived through the war as a child. He watched his entire species fade away over a lifetime. A human observer found his body. Beside it was a note written in the Velnar language. "We were proud. We were strong. We thought we were gods. The humans taught us that we were nothing. We could not live with that truth, so we chose not to live at all. Remember us. Remember what arrogance costs." Historian Melu finished speaking. The young diplomats were silent. Some of them were crying. Others looked sick. "The humans did not commit genocide," Melu said. "They did not have to. They broke the Velnar spirit so completely that the species destroyed itself. That is not mercy. That is not cruelty. It is something else, something I have never found a word for." He rose slowly from his chair. His old bones ached. "I was there," he told them. "I watched the war. I watched the aftermath. I watched the Velnar die out over 2 centuries. I did nothing to help them. None of us did. We were too afraid of the humans. We still are." He walked to the window and looked out at the stars. "That is why I became a historian. I wanted to understand what happened. I wanted to make sure no species ever makes the same mistake. And I wanted to warn you." A young reptilian diplomat raised his hand. "Are humans really that dangerous?" he asked. "They seem so friendly now, so helpful. They build hospitals and schools on worlds they have never visited. They share their technology. They welcome everyone." Melu smiled sadly. "Yes, they do all those things. Humans are the kindest species in the galaxy. They believe in second chances. They believe in peace. They believe in the good in all living things." He turned to face the young diplomat. "But they have one rule that must never be broken. Do not touch their children. Do not touch their families. Do not touch their homes. Every species that violated this rule is gone. The Velnar were simply the last to learn the lesson." Far away, on a planet called Memorial, an old woman walked through gardens that grew where cities once burned. Her name was Yuna Kong. She was 142 years old, kept alive by human medicine that her generation had perfected. Walking beside her was a young girl with bright eyes, her great-granddaughter, named Soman, after the daughter Yuna lost so long ago. "Grandmother," the girl asked, "why do we come here every year?" Yuna stopped walking. She looked at the memorial stone where her family's names were carved: Minjae, Sunja, Taemin, the first Soman, who never grew old. "We come here to remember," Yuna said. "We remember those we lost. We remember why we fought, and we remember what we became when we were pushed too far. The teachers say we destroyed an entire species, young Soman said. They say it was terrible. Yuna knelt down to look her great-granddaughter in the eyes. It was terrible, she agreed. What the Velnar did to us was terrible. What we did to them was terrible. War is always terrible. That is why we try so hard to avoid it. But we won, Somin said. We survived. Yes, we survived. Yuna's voice was heavy. But we paid a price. Not just the people who died. Everyone who fought carries scars that never heal. I have lived for over 100 years since the war ended. I have traveled the stars. I have seen wonders. But every night I still dream of fire. I still hear the screams. I still remember what I did and what I became. She touched the memorial stone. We are capable of great love and great kindness, but we are also capable of great destruction. The galaxy knows this now. They fear us because of it, and perhaps that fear is the only thing keeping us all safe. Young Soman was quiet for a moment. Then she hugged her grandmother tightly. I am glad we are strong, she whispered. I am glad no one can hurt us. Yuna hugged her back. So am I, little one. So am I. Back in the Galactic Council chamber, historian Melu was finishing his lesson. How do we keep peace with humans? The young reptilian diplomat asked. What must we do? Melu smiled. It was a tired smile, full of centuries of wisdom and regret. It is the easiest thing in the galaxy, he said. Be kind to them, and they will be kind to you. Trade with them fairly. Honor your agreements. Treat them as equals. He paused. And never, ever give them a reason to remember what they are capable of, because humans are very good at forgetting. They want to believe in peace. They want to believe the darkness is behind them. But if you remind them, if you force them to look back at what their ancestors were, they will become that again, in an instant, without hesitation, without mercy. He walked toward the door. The Velnar forgot this truth. Now the Velnar are gone. Learn from their mistake. Keep humans happy. Keep humans peaceful. And pray they never have a reason to remember what they truly are. He stopped at the door and looked back one final time. Because the last species to anger humans is always the last species to exist. The door closed behind him. The young diplomats sat in silence, staring at the stars, thinking about the gentle, friendly humans they had met. And for the first time, they understood why the entire galaxy was afraid.